and welcome to Manned Up Conversations, where we connect with evolving men to discuss issues around masculinity and manhood, and also provide tools to help us be better for our society.
Sometimes I'd find men who struggle even with smiling, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I see it was like, no. I smile. So drama can give us, and drama therapy can give us, firstly, as men, a space to exercise or learn or rehearse our emotional range. How far can you go? Because drama gives you can be angry in a character. How angry can you be? How sad can you be? How what?
Welcome to another installment of Manned Up Conversations. I'm here at Wits Art Campus today, man. And I'm with a talented brother of mine I met a couple of weeks ago at the Heartlines Fathers Matter event. And my man Vonder / Sibusiso, extraordinary man, dude. We're going to talk about some drama therapy today. But I mean, I caught the man rehearsing, bro. Welcome to the show, dog.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Kichi, for a warm welcome into the show.
Yes, sir. Sir. Man, I mean, I just said now we caught you rehearsing, man. You're working on a play. Can you tell us a bit about that, man? What are you cooking up for us?
Okay, I'm cooking up a play called Omunye Pezgomunye.
Yeah.
It's an interesting play about the land issue we've been debating as the count, right? Where we find ourselves that 10% of the population or 10% of the rich occupy actually 90% or 80% of the land.
Sure.
And then the 90% or 80% of the population owns 10% of the land. And unfortunately, those are black people, those are colored people, those are Indian people. So we need to have this continuous conversation about the land issue. Sure. So what I'm saying with the piece is that because of the 10% piece of land we have as black people, since from 1913, in fact, we are literally stacked on top of each other. The play is around that thing, and it also questions the issues of identity when the land is taken away. So because we also define land as a space of identity.
Man, that's a powerful one. Yeah. So I mean, now let's try merge these two worlds. I mean, you doing you study psychology, right?
Yeah, drama therapy.
And you're also doing theater. Like those are two. If I look at it, and the first time I spoke to you, it's like two worlds that I really kind of hear people kind of try to mix them together. And then again, you're talking about land issues and that, so you're also going into politics. So like you're very diverse, man. And you know, how did you even get into this kind of work?
Okay, so me, I grew up in a township like any other typical Gasi boy, and then I got in love with the catch. When I was young, I remember when I was doing like grade 1, grade 2.
Yeah,
I had the smallest head in the world with the biggest ears in the world. So my head was like this, and then my ears were like this. I was like Mickey Mouse. Yeah. So as a result of that killed my confidence, because you know how nasty children are.
Sure.
You know, they used to call Wangware, Kabzela, what. That literally took my confidence away.
Yeah.
And then drama helped me because of that. I didn't engage much with other children. When we started dating, I wasn't still there.
Yeah.
I met this drama class, and I met this guy who taught me he thought I was cute, number one, and he taught me how to date, how to be the smartest guy through drama, you know.
Okay.
So, and then I took those skills from learning ukshela through drama and used it in my real life, and then that's how I regained my self-esteem and self-confidence. So drama saved my life in that sense, you know, when I was a teenager. And then I was like, I like this drama, and I would like to share the gift that this drama brings. And then I went on doing the sketch. I started writing stories and stuff like that. And then I came here to study drama because that's my interest.
Sure.
As I was doing my drama, somebody came through during my process to say, you've got something that a drama therapist would do. And I was in Wits. I don't know what is this drama therapy. I'm like, what is this thing now? What is drama therapy? You know? Like, no, it's the use of drama for psychological purposes, right? So I was like, okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What must I pay now? You know? And the person said, you must study psych because already you've studied drama.
Okay.
So, and then he made an example because he once heard the story about me, what had happened to me as a young boy that moved my confidence and how I picked up through drama. So drama therapy then becomes the use of drama, because we understand that drama emanates from real life. So everything you play dramatically comes from actually what is happening in people's life and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
So literally, everyone is believed to be an actor in this life. All of us, we get into role as fathers, as sons to our fathers, as brothers, as friends. So people literally are acting every day. They are doing drama. So it's easy to use the lens of drama to understand their psyche.
Yo, man, I love it. I love what you're saying there. People are acting every day. And I mean, we're on man-up conversations. And there's this idea that men are always performing. When we see each other, like I have to pump up myself according to the situation so I can fit in. So I wanna understand this. Like, if you now taking this thing into coaching men or getting men to kind of get out of their body, because we're not very expressive as much. Maybe some are. Let me not make a general statement here. But then there's this idea where the body never lies, man. So everything that we go through is kind of kept in the body.
Yeah.
So then could that be a way of, through that acting, it's like you're bringing out all of those pains and you don't kind of keep it in.
Yeah.
So the more you act it out, it's like, okay, now I can see or I can do these things. Sort of how it did for you when you were younger, right?
Yeah. So the body keeps the score. They say it keeps the traumatic scores, right? So I'll make a typical example. There was a study that was made about a dog. If a dog right now crosses the street and then right now, what it does immediately after that incident, after that traumatic experience, it shakes the bone.
Sure.
Because the dog has got the intelligence to understand that trauma sits in the bone. Right?
Okay.
So we experience traumas and they sit in our bodies. We never find time to let them go. So drama gives us an ability of embodiment.
Sure.
So this idea that through drama, you can use the body to let go of trauma that is seated in the body. So there's a lot men can learn. There's a lot that can happen in drama therapy. But there was an interesting thing I've been experimenting and working with.
Sure.
So we find ourselves in a space where they say indodicad and whatnot. And then we find ourselves with a limited emotional literacy. And if you know something about drama, the first thing you deal with is emotions, right?
Okay.
As an actor, you learn how to cry if you haven't cried. I've had sessions where I teach people how to cry.
Oh, you know what I mean? I'm trying to imagine that now. You got like a bunch of guys. Okay, guys, so how do you do it?
Yeah, how do we cry? You know what I mean? There are ways then when I use as a director first, but also as a therapist, right? Things like dealing with your psyche into letting you cry for the first time. I had classes where I teach people literally crying, and I teach them. Sometimes I'd find men who struggle even with smiling,
Yeah.
Like I see it was like, no, I smile. So drama can give us, and drama therapy can give us, firstly as men, a space to exercise or learn or rehearse our emotional range. How far can we go? Because drama gives you can be angry in a character. How angry can you be? How sad can you be? How what? So that's one thing I've been experimenting and I'm working on to using drama therapy to help men learn emotional literacy. And as you said, the embodiment also it's a big part of that because the trauma sits in the body. So in drama therapy, there are processes where they say, they call it, what do you call it? I've forgotten the term. But the term is you redress.
Okay.
So if you had a traumatic experience, let's say as a 7-year-old boy, right? And then that was never dealt through, that's seated in your body. So through a drama therapy process, I can take you in a way, you regress to a 7-year-old. Wow. And then we sit to that moment and shake it out if you need to shake out the experience as the intelligence of the dog. Yeah.
Wow,
so there's a lot that drama therapy can offer, man.
So I mean, I keep going back to this. Like it's when I heard it from you, I was quite like fascinated by it, right? Because man, like I'm like how there's so many different ways to heal. There's so many different types of therapy, and with access to therapy as well for Butaki, we don't really do therapy. We don't understand it. And also I think the therapy world doesn't really understand our psychology as well. Sure. So how are you then finding it landing? Are you finding people taking up to it? And what are some of the key benefits to it, man? And And while we're talking benefits, what are also the risks involved with doing this drama therapy? Because I assume, or I believe that you might unlock some, very dark secrets that people have been avoiding for years. So that kind of puts you in a position that you really, haven't really want to deal with. Something that you're like, hey, man, I'd rather just lock this thing up. I don't want to go there.
That's true.
So how are you finding it working out? Yeah.
So for me, firstly, I found that, so part of my master's research, right, is around, remember that drama therapy, let me just give a context about drama therapy. Drama therapy is a new thing in the country. It comes back, it goes back to 1930s, right, in Europe. Okay. In Europe, there's a guy called Peter Snitch. This guy, his interest was like, there was a park, in fact, he didn't create a park.
Yeah.
But he woke up every day and went and just watched children play throughout the day.
Wow. Okay.
And then he was like learning what is the drama that happens in their play. What stories are they telling as they play? He did this for years, understand, and documented this. Children, when they play this game, this is what they are telling us, or this is what they are communicating, and whatnot. So then that was firstly the idea that, and then it went on to 80s, 18th century, where there's a guy called Mourinho, and then took up into using drama as therapy, right? Okay, and then it went on. But in Africa, it's still young.
Yeah.
Very young.
You're probably like one of the first guys on it, right?
Yeah.
Would I assume?
There's another guy just before me who's called Temba Mkoma.
Sure.
Yeah, and they were scarce. Men are very scarce in the field. Because therapy is associated with women and white people. You get what I mean? That's what is associated with, right? And then I come in and into this world, and so part of the things I was questioning is how are we finding ways of Africanizing it, right? Because now, as I studied it, it's very Europe packaged.
Yes, sir.
The entire thing is just Europe packaged. You can feel it. I remember one day where we're using storytelling as a way of accessing one of our assignments. They said, bring a story. I came to Tsumo and I went, you know what my lecturer said that day? Like, who? You're threatening. How you tell stories is threatening.
Wow.
Because she's used to the idea that there's a story of a Cinderella. How therapy is. Understand? So there's this guy with this range and this expression is like, hey, what's the video? Yeah. So that moment sitted with me, and then I saw a need to then find ways of Africanizing drama therapy, if I can find that. So I'm still in the process. I'm not yet done with my master's. It's a long process of thinking about how will it be cultural appropriate to our context in Africa.
Sure.
How would it consider how people express in Africa? So yeah, I'm still on that journey. So because of that journey, I'm working on how do people find it accessible, right?
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to question myself. But also I've started incorporating things like the Tumo, as I'm telling you, as a way of making it African and how we can, and it doesn't mean that when I'm expressive, then there's, there's threats I'm trying to do. I'm just an expressive artist. So yeah, that's one part. And then the other part was around what are the risks. So the benefits also, we'll start with the benefits. Most of our approaches are communal, unlike talk therapy. Talk therapy is individualized. It's me and you are talking about this. So in drama therapy, our approaches, they are like this idea of let's have it in a group of people. When you do a play, you can't do, unless you're doing a one-hander, but most of the time with other people, working with other people. And I remember there was a beautiful lady who also works on the idea of Africanizing drama therapy. It talks about this idea that once you take somebody into a therapy room and deal with them without solving their family, without solving their community, it's a futile exercise, because the same person is going to go back to the same community that is not healed, And if you understand, healing in Africa is a very communal thing. That's why they heal your ancestors. I understand that they deal with your ancestors. They deal with the community way. It's not an individualized thing, but in Western ways, it's an individualized thing. You come to a room, we talk to you, and we think we've solved the thing.
Hey, you're touching on something crazy, man. You're touching on something crazy. I have to jump in there, man, because I love that. Or when So sure, and I'm thinking of guys who are, let's say, a guy who's in jail and get at the rehab system in jail. It's like, yeah, no, you go for, I don't know what, community service, and I don't think there's even someone assigned to you to try and integrate you back into society, because then you kind of outlawed, and then also your family doesn't really know, like, how do we deal with this person, because we now you a criminal, you have a criminal record, and this thing hanging over you. You know? And then also, I'm talking now to guys who are seeing therapists now, who are like, hey, you know what? We have these traumas from home. I want to be well, man. I want to be okay in myself. But then you find, yeah, you going through all of these things, but you're doing it all alone. But then you're talking about traumas that are caused by other people. So it's kind of, counterproductive to not have those people in that space. I love that. I love that.
So yeah. And also drama therapy then gives us also the idea that, because talking can be limiting as a form of expressing, right? So, as we know, when you come to a drama therapy place, I look into your body language to get cues into what you are thinking. There are things sometimes we are unable to articulate with words, but the body knows and it can articulate. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's that. And then, the risk is that, firstly, as I'm saying, it's still not really Africanized. All of us are still trying to find ways. It's still new. It's less than 20 years in the continent, and few people are trained in it. Few black people are trained in it. Few black male people are trained in it. You know what I mean? It's still a very wide, dominated space. You know, sometimes I even find it difficult whether I'm in this meetings, you know. So we are in the process of that. So I think the disadvantage is therefore that it hasn't really incorporated our ways of storytelling, of dancing, of beating drums, because it employs all these arts things into it, right? But it needs to understand how we do it in Africa. So that's part of a disadvantage for now, and which is something we're working on. And the risk, as I was saying, that the risk is like when you're dealing with people's traumas, it's always a risk. That work on its own is a risk. Sometimes you work with somebody who's suicidal. You can't be sure that you heal the person.